skin. Your skin has plenty of cysteine in it, so that's a consideration. This was just oxidizing agent and just one kind and just one interaction and just with cysteine as an example. And we want to talk about adrenaline. So I want to talk about, this is a very roundabout way to talk about amino acids first. But so here's another amino acid, and this will have like a carbon ring to it. So let's take, just take our good old friend, the benzol or benzene ring. I keep forgetting between the languages I know whether it's called benzol or benzene. It's one of the two. It's or both. So this would be, if I wrote it like this, and again, like when I don't write in the CH2 or CH whatever, then it means the respective carbon atom and the amount of hydrogens needed. And if I write it like this, so this is nothing else but, oh, do you recognize this? This part? Do you recognize this? Can you pause the video for a second? So if you recognize, congratulations, because this is alanine. This is what we just talked about, that this is, well, in this case it's attached to radical, and it's, but and this, when it's not benzene, then it's phenyl alanine. Okay, and I think it's fair, but I'm not sure. And it's okay to admit when I'm not sure. I pride myself in, like, I like it when people admit that they're wrong, and also like you can add the two as a notation. And also I did several different notations. Again, I slipped in Q instead of C or H and so on, and because I like Discord and all that. Anyway, so phenylalanine, and if you hydroxylize this is an enzyme, and it just so happens that enzymes are also proteins, so proteins build each other, and yeah, it's a very recursive thing. But and also don't ask me which hydroxylase this is, because that's not important right now. And if you want to learn about those specific hydroxylases and study them together and individually, but still with references to the other one, then you will need it. But so basically I know that this will go into the para group, but it's another question. Okay, what happens when it doesn't go into the para group? Does it ever in normal synthesizes without enzymes if it goes into the para group? So like para is the opposite of opposite end. You see, like, it goes through the labyrinth on the sides, and then like if you drew a direct line, it would be like that. Okay, so we are back to our trusty alanine now, and the two should be at the hydrogen and not the carbon. That's key, because you could also write carbon like that, but you don't want to. So basically, and so again, COH and then NH2 and H, and we have Tyrion Lannister. Well, not quite. We have tyrosine. Actually, not sure if it's written with an S or a Z. Again, that's also regional, country-based, and so on and so forth. And this is an essential. No, this is a non-essential amino acid. Why is it non-essential? Again, I'm using my own notation, but I'm letting you know what my notation is. So long as I am consistent about having written up that Q double point equals COH, like in pseudocode IT, then I theoretically am allowed to use it like this. On some tests I did that and it was accepted. Depends on the professor and humor and so on. So this is essential. This is essential because the body cannot synthesize this, and there are stuff like phenylketonuria where there are further conversion things going on where it's not properly broken down, so it accumulates. But tyrosine, this is not essential because it can use phenylalanine to use hydroxylizes to create this. But what does this have to do with adrenaline? Okay, so let's create dopa hydroxylize, I think. Okay, like you see, I'm not looking this up because like it's just not the important part of what we are trying to get to, because getting every single last detail right might matter in an EMT office or on an official research paper that will always be there. But this is lesson 0, and I'm trying to figure out how to teach you and myself, and how we can move forward from this, because this is definitely not going to be how I want to be remembered forever. And even though I posted this, this is something that I will have learned a lot from, and so I don't want to just trash this, but instead keep the whole Git history. And yes, I don't upload all music that I play that I really am not happy with, but ones that sound at least half decent, I'm like, I can reuse some materials, and you know what, sometimes I already did, and it worked out. So long story short, there are ways to reuse a material without having to start from scratch, because it will never be perfect. This will never be perfect, and that's excellent news, as Oliver Berkman said, because that gives room to be our imperfect human selves, and also to, maybe let's not try to aspire to teach AI imperfection, but anyway. So dopa hydroxylize, we got to this, like we hydroxylize the meta position relative to this one. Like this would be the 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 is meta, this would be ortho, likewise this would be ortho, this would be meta, and this is always para. So like this was actually para hydroxy phenylalanine, you see, para hydroxy OH group phenylalanine. And now we have, the drill, this is now 3, 4 or orthometa dihydroxy, D because again it's a diol. You could just say 3, 4 diol. I can't say diol because it's not at the end, like again it has to end with carboxylic acid. So 3, 4 or orthometa dihydroxy alpha amino carboxylic propanoic alpha amino propanoic acid, or just 3, 4 dihydroxy phenylalanine. That's easy, but you can just write this as dopa. This is like, like I like to have hope, and like DHOPA OPA might have meant more sense, but yeah, let's hope PA is good as a partial agonist. Anyway, let's now decarboxylize this. We don't really want this Q there, my Q notation, dopa decarboxylize, that fills up stuff. So let's now just have peace. Like there's no more COO. No age, the age went there. So what happened? The CO2 got away. So like we can just say that I like colors, they really help to memorize stuff. And like also you can do all this cool stuff with colors, different colors, so and now let's look at what we have here. This is dopamine, DA Darmstadt dopamine, whatever. Okay, so this helps build anticipation and stuff. It's involved in Parkinson's, and it's a cardio stimulator, beta ethyl alpha aminoacids, because now this is the alpha, this is the beta, like alpha relative to amino group now is the predominant one. So beta at phenyl ethyl amino derivatives are these adrenergics or parasympathomimetics, no, sympathomimetics, not para. Careful, like it might be in the para position, this OH group, but anyway, this is a cardiostimulator and also helps with anticipation of reward, but actually the anticipation is more important than getting the reward itself. So how about we kept having an endless wave of both anticipations and actually getting the rewards, because that's the only way to stay on the dopamine treadmill, to actually get the rewards, because that's the only way to keep building the anticipation. Anyway, and then this gets hydroxylized further. Dopamine, again, I'm pulling these names out of wherever, and they usually are correct, because people before me just had the same ideas to just keep things simple, and sometimes they didn't, and now everyone is just, like, really, like is that going to put a negative view onto my research paper now, or what, YouTube video or whatever. So, and you see, geometry is weird, and like I don't now actually know if it is going to be behind like this, or I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be behind or in front of the ring of the whole 3D plane here, and also what happens in the fourth plane and so on. But so basically, like, again, I could look this up, but it's not important, because you know what, I can just say that this is not important for me right now for this purpose, and so I will just collapse this wave into saying, okay, I'm just drawing everything in 2D, okay, and it's like that, okay, 2D notation. And so now we have noradrenaline. This is noradrenaline, and nor is usually because something is missing, like a CH2, and so that means that the final piece of the puzzle is going to be adrenaline, and noradrenaline and dopamine react on adrenaline's receptors. They are proteins that they act on, and so there are a lot of proteins. You can see why amino acids are important and why they will be important targets, but also false metabolites and everything. But so basically we want our little noradrenaline to grow up to become a big adrenaline Charizard, right? For roller coasters purposes, I mean. And we'll talk more about this stuff, but so for starters, like Pokemon starters, this is enough. I mean, your Charmander only evolves in TCG to Charizard directly. So basically we have this, and these are going to be interesting, because you could actually fuse these two rings and have a similar thing going on, like with that pyrrolidine ring with an OH, but also in nicotine, but also fused together with this, and we are going to get to adrenochrome and such, but that's a story for another day. But so and like this was with like noradrenaline methylase or whatever, I guess, because hey, CH3 is a methane group, from methyl group, methyl, which itself is taken from the name methane. So like just like C2H5 would be an ethyl group. Again, it's important that 2 is after C and not after H, and C3H5 age 9 would be propyl group. So what's C3PO? Anyway, long story short, adrenaline receptors, they are proteins. This gets produced by adrenal glands and mainly from your suprarenal kidneys. Like, it's called epinephrine also because nephron is also your kidneys other name. So, and adrenaline because adrenal glands, which again renal, like your kidneys are renal and such, and other names. So adrenal, it's so both epinephrine and adrenaline denote the fact that they are produced above your kidneys, and so this causes like vasoconstriction and increased bronchodilations of your air passages and higher blood pressure, and because of the vasoconstriction of your blood vessels, like really, if you like constrict your blood vessels by they do it at hospital in virus phase, then you will have higher blood pressure because your heart has to pump more, but also your heart will be more pumped like like that whole cast that I'm referring to. And long story short, like it has a lot of stuff, and so they usually call the fight, flight, or freeze syndrome. The freeze is often even forgotten, and there's also the fawn, which is even more forgotten, where you try to compliment someone to get out of a situation. So I don't like the fight way of looking at adrenaline, noradrenaline, and to some extent dopamine itself, and other sympatomatic adrenergics. So I'm a maximally pacifist kind of person personally, and so if I were to use self-defense that I learned primarily, hopefully only as a just a sport art to casually do with friends I trust, and to learn new moves from, to just free myself from others' movements so that I can still keep them as safe as possible. And so, speaking of free, so let's move on to freeze. I mean, that's like polar bears, like you if a polar bear went up to you, then you would probably freeze, because you probably are not going to outrun or outclimb or outswim a polar bear, or who knows, depending on how well fed they are right now. But so basically adrenaline, and this is like A, and this will be on the test, and I want you to get A plus and star and everything, and because this is important stuff. And and again, for EMTs, then I will need, for ones who want to become one, the doses as well. I am not allowed to say them here, so I won't, but you can look them up, and then please fact check them, and fact check me on everything like this, because how do you know that cysteic acid is called that, and like how do you know that I didn't, because you saw that I actually pulled all these magic cards out of thin air, literally, like I was not like, you could probably tell that I was not like focusing on reading something else. So please fact check me and figure out how to properly fact check me, and thanks for listening. But so I'm still not done. Polar bears, like you want to freeze so that they think that they like you are you are with peace towards them. And how about we also were with peace towards them and let them continue to actually freeze, as in save the Arctic, so that it continued to be a colder temperature there. And flight, I would love to fly, but first I need, my mutalisks need their defenses back home, their guardians. So how about we first defended our planet with our guardians, our lairs and beehives and all that with our guardians, and then our mutalisks could finally fly and remain proud teal groups and so on, without worrying about oxidation from ozone and so on and so forth, because ozone is also like molecular oxygen with O3 and so on, and I'm talking too much. And you know what, like and fun, generosity is nice. It's like, watch please Chris Anderson's, the CEO head of the nonprofit TED. Please watch his TED talk here on YouTube, because it's the most important video I've ever watched, and the book of it is the most important book I've ever read, and I hope it will be available in more translations soon. And yeah, altruism is great, fawning is great, infectious generosity is great, being viral about it is great. Like also like I also like I'm referencing fan fiction again, but also I'm blending fan fiction with reality, because you know what? Let's save the bees and the polar bears, and this has been, I have no idea who has been fronting, because we are blurry, and that's fine, and we are colorful that way. So thank you all for all your colors, and I hope that I could bring some colors into yours with some ideas about how to go on about chemistry, because you know what? Chemistry is important, and you know what, like from all this, what is missing from all this? The heart, and all these act on the heart. I mean, dopamine, I mentioned, it's also a cardio stimulator via dopamine receptors. And yeah, I hope that I could boost your excitement and anticipation, and I hope you yourself can keep having endless anticipation and so on.